Hello everyone and welcome to the Low Budget Otaku, and today we have a review of the S.H.Figuarts 02 from the show Darling in the Franxx. Now this is actually my first original S.H.Figuarts figure. I have already reviewed 2 KOs, but normally I'm not that big of a S.H.Figuarts fan because I think they're a bit expensive for the accessories that they bring, but I was never going to miss one figure from one of the shows that I most appreciated this year, even though it crashed and burned near the end. So as a big fan of the show, I decided to get this figure, and of course Sterlizia from the Robot Spirits line. And we're going to take a look today if 02 lives up to the reputation, but first, hit that intro.
Follow me. I'll cover you.
Now the box is very simplistic and very small. I was expecting a bigger figure. Now I gotta be honest, I really wanted Figma to do this figure. But since they didn't do it, I'm happy that S.H.Figuarts did. And I'm kind of curious because I think this figure looks more like a Figma than it does an S.H.Figuarts. Especially because of the size of the box. Now the box itself is very simplistic. One of the things that I don't like about S.H.Figuarts box, they are not as standard as Figma boxes. I like the Figma boxes because they're so standard. We have like an official seal here. There's a lot of great artwork on the front, very simplistic on the side, some poses and features of the figure on the back, and some publicity of the Robot Spirits Sterlizia, that by the way I'm reviewing next. And yeah, let's open this baby and see what she brings. Now the box opens to the side instead of to the top like most boxes do, and let's see what we have. Okay, we have an instruction, a very small instruction pamphlet. Warning may rub off. Okay, I don't like that. The sound of that. We have below, I believe this is a stand, more or less of a stand. This is the cockpit for Sterlizia. It's all glued in. Okay, so we got it. So this is the cockpit. Very simplistic, there's nothing to write home about, but I do like that it is included. And then we got ourselves a stand. By the way, this is actually very similar to the stand that I reviewed not too long ago. But this is just, again, a stand for that mech. So basically it's not to use with the figure, it's instead to use with Sterlizia from Robot Spirits. And you have a small claw. Then we have the figure herself. So okay, she definitely looks Figma size to me. Okay, the likeness is well done on this face. At least she has 4 faces, so I'm happy about that. A lot of faces. We have the handles that are articulated, also like that. The articulation looks like it's going to be very limited. Now the feel of the figure is very solid. I really enjoy that. And okay, we got the monitor there, 2 open hands, 2 fist hands, 2 grabby hands, like they look for guns, but she doesn't bring any guns. We have what I assume is the version of the helmet to cover her head. And then we got a bunch of faces, so we don't have that many accessories. We have a yelling, angry face, looks very good. Darling smile face, greeny face, that sexy smile face, really like that one. Overall, yeah, she's very Figma-like. I do feel like they're trying to be Figma without being Figma. Now the sculpting, let's take a look at the sculpting.
Yeah, boy.
She is very well sculpted. Like most of the paintwork I think is like spot on. While handling the figure and looking at it, taking pictures, I've noticed really another thing that I guess S.H.Figuarts are not as good as Figma. So we have some molded plastic problem there, there, and on the handles, there and there. And those are the ones like that I could notice here on the feet a little bit too. So the finish of the figure is not as high quality as Figma's. Like overall you can notice at a distance and post, but when you start looking for things, yeah, you find these molded plastic problems. Now I think her face looks a bit more childish than it should be. Let's see if I exchange. Exchanging faces is very similar to what you would do with the Figma, but the connections are a little bit different. So my first impression is I'm very satisfied with the figure overall, but I do think they still could have improved some things. Now to get the figure in one of the best poses, you need to read the instruction manual that I forgot existed. There was actually an instruction booklet inside the box, hidden behind that little gray carton part, and it tells you how to do the head thing. So you actually need to remove completely the bag from the neck. So you need to first separate everything, and then we remove this peg. After removing this peg, we actually need to remove this part here. Twig purse may do the job, and that actually removes pretty easily. After we do this, fix the neck first. Our cockpit version. Now it looks complicated in the beginning, but it's actually not that hard, especially after you follow the instructions. Apparently, by the way, the legs also extend down. At least that's what it looks like. In this version, we can finally put it on our cockpit, and it should look something like this, I guess. When you don't want to pose it like this, of course you can still use the stand to help her stand. But let's test if she can stand well on her own, because her feet, of course, are tiny feet, and she's wearing high heels, so not the easiest figure I think to stand on her own. A stand will be appreciated. You can either use the stand to help her, or you can use one of the stands that I just reviewed a couple of days ago. So now that we looked at most of her accessories, it's time to look at her articulation.
And now comes the interesting part. Let your fingers get in there and have a good old rub-a-dub.
We have actually very similar system of ball hinge to ball peg, like Figma does on the head, but it is a bit limited by their hair and of course by the back part of the helmet. By the way, let me just fix the helmet to a completed. The neck itself is, I believe, pegged in, so it does move like a chicken, up and down. Don't get that much side to side or range. Then we have, I believe it's a ball peg to a ball hinge, again like Figma does. Gives you great range of motion, allows you to swivel very tight. Here is the part where I actually got surprised, because S.H.Figuarts normally uses a double hinged system. Here just one hinge, and we have a ball peg on the hand. Then here, I believe on the waist, I believe it is a ball peg. Not very short, very tight, and not that much range of motion. She's kind of stuck there. Gives you some swivel, some side to side, not that much, and not that much grunt. When I try to lean back, she kind of springs back into place. A bit weird. Not understanding really why. Then we have on the back, two handles are hinged. On the legs, I believe we have two ball pegs. So she does spread very far. She kicks front really well, and backwards she's just a little bit limited by, of course, our hinged handles. By the way, I actually forgot one detail. So they are hinged here, but then they have this connection here that looks a bit fragile. Not that happy with this. I think this was unnecessary. It is a nice detail, but it's a very small ball peg, so this can break easily. Be careful. A very nice detail on that back of the helmet. Then we have our hinge here. Simple hinge on the knee, and a similar hinge on the foot. No pivot and no toe band. So the articulation is not as good as it should be, but it is decent. So another detail that I want to show you, this is why I never started collecting S.H.Figuarts. They just look more fragile. Look at this peg, compare it to a Figma peg. It just looks a lot more fragile, and it doesn't bring an extra one. Like Figma's always come like with an extra peg. S.H.Figuarts not even trying, and it's not as easy to peg as a Figma one. Really not easy to peg at all. Just keeps trying to escape. Okay, but so be warned, there's a lot of parts on this figure that just feel a bit more fragile than they should be. But she still looks gorgeous, come on. Let's look at her size. Figma Ram, Figma Ryuto Matoi, Figma Kazumi, Figma Nero Claudius, S.H.Figuarts Harley Quinn, S.H.Figuarts Thanos. My final thoughts about this figure are not easy. She does have good articulation, she's Figma size, so she's great to go along with other anime Figma figures that you have. Her paint job is really good, her sculpting is decent, but she does have a lot of dents on the mold. She brings a lot of faces, not a lot of hands, not a lot of accessories, but the accessories that she brings are cool to go along with Sterlizia. She does have some fragile pegs, so be careful, and she doesn't have a whole 4 peg in the stand like Figma does. I think really other brands should start doing that, because I hate putting plastic claws to hold figures. For 36 euros, that is the current cost of the figure, she's still on stock. You can buy her and HobbyLink or HobbySearch at the original price. And if you are a Darling in the Franxx fan, I'll give it my low budget otaku seal of approval. And that's it for the review of the 2018 Anime's Best Girl. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that little bell icon to always know when the next video is up and support the channel.
It's a bit special.
She got a great ass!
See you next time.
Do it! Just do